Is that a Yomiuri Giants jersey?
Yes, it is.
I saw some orange and black baseball jersey Benny rocking on his Zoom screen, and I was like, that doesn't look like a Bees jersey. What could that possibly be? I know we expressed some love on here for that Oklahoma State baseball uniform that has the bat as the underline, like the Oklahoma State underline, but it's also a baseball bat. And we can give them props, but I wouldn't expect you to buy one and then wear it on this podcast, given we might be meeting Oklahoma State on the path to Omaha. No, I'm getting ahead of myself there. But then you backed up. And your coif is looking excellent as well. JP, you look good too.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm like sunburnt from sitting outside all day yesterday.
Right.
Yes.
Well, you're also, the sun came out in Portland, I saw, on St. Patrick's Day. And you're also Irish. So if the sun is out, the three of us are all very Irish.
The burn is in.
If the sun is out, the burn is in. I'm also, the sun did not come out, and I'm somehow also sunburned. I was in my house most of the day, but the lights were on.
That'll do it.
Benny, you are, as the kids would say, you've got Riz right now, my dude. You are rizzed up.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Riz is like swag.
Oh, God, this is so cheesy. But you know what? Your coif looks impeccable.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
That's like.
Did you just get a haircut?
I think if Yogi Roth came out right now, he'd be like, "Whoa, how'd you get your hair like that, man?"
Oh,
and we'd be
that
like,
is quite the compliment. Yeah. Ooh.
I'm sitting here. I got my. You can't really see the microphone. I got my new Beavers Energy Nike shooting shirt for this year.
Nice.
The official one. I wish it just said Beavs Energy though. And I think Beaver, it's just too many letters. It's a decent shirt though. You know, I feel like these shirts Nike does for each team every year, hit or miss, like a lot of things Nike does. I really like the always reppin' one was a great one. The Just Us Beavs one was a great one. I think this one's fine. It's more comfortable than last year's ball in shirt.
Oh yeah, it is. It's fine. It's fine. I think that's a good way.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone ever make haul-in shirts?
Shut up, Corey. Oh, in honor of the time we almost beat Stanford in overtime, that one game.
Yeah, that was
Corey
fun.
Hall.
He's like coaching high school now.
Coaching, I think he's been a pretty successful high school coach ever since.
Nice. Okay.
So good for him.
Good for him. Thanks
honestly
for
did well in a tough situation. Speaking of other tough situations, St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
I had a tough. I celebrate St. Patrick's Day on Saturday night, so I was in a tough situation Sunday morning.
Saturday night? That's not St. Patrick's Day. That's my mom's birthday.
It's the weekend.
In honor of your mom's birthday.
It was Saint Marcy's Day.
It was Saint Marcy's Day. Yeah.
We were out on the town going hammered for your mom, JP. Celebrating so hard.
She'd appreciate that.
Is that a
I've no doubt. I've no doubt.
Oh yeah. Should we just like do the beer segment right now? Because I am drinking a Guinness. I was like thinking today was like, what should my beer segment be? Because I only had Guinness in the fridge, and I was like, kind of perfect. It's the day after St. Patrick's Day. Oh yeah, it just shows how much slower we're going these days.
I mean, really,
in my Wu-Tang enter the 36th year. Yeah, it's about I'm good for about 3.6 Guinnesses now, and then I need a nap.
That's like 1.37 IPAs.
when we used to do our Irish Appreciation Night, just when it was like not close enough to St. Patrick's Day, but we just really wanted to like get hammered while playing Boondock Saints at like really loud levels.
Oh, I forgot about that movie.
Didn't age great, but we've aged great.
We have the photos, maybe not.
The Irish ones are fine.
The Irish ones are, yeah, they're fine compared to others.
We don't need to bring those up.
Nights. Look, we had
You
the
could
right
probably
intentions.
find him somewhere. That was back in another thing that would be very embarrassing for Gen Z. I know this has been a meme, but that was the age of you couldn't just like go out with your friends or just go to a friend's house and have beers with friends. You could only go out with your friends, wake up hungover the next morning, and upload like 108 photos of going out with your friends to a random Facebook album.
That you give a ridiculous name.
Do either of you ever just have retroactive anxiety about doing that and how stupid it was?
Be like, all right, have like a clever name. It was like clickbait.
Man, I can't remember anything last night. Let's upload these 73 photos that I'll go through as they're being added to my very public Facebook profile.
Yeah, and then you'd sit
I
there and
will never regret this.
That's what that was the name of the album.
Right.
I will never regret this. You had to have a clever album name. Like I said, it was clickbait to get people to be like, Terry has a new album of photos. It's called I Will Never Regret This. I'm for sure clicking through all 72 of these just to see what happened.
And God forbid you ever left your Facebook open on someone else's computer. Like that's another thing that Gen Z doesn't have to worry about. Everything's on your phone.
Yep.
That was not fun.
My profile was changed from man interested in women to man interested in men so many times.
My
the laziest homophobia ever when we were 18.
Yeah.
Well, they would tell everybody that. Right. It would announce it to the news feed that you changed your preference. It was clever. Regardless of intention, Do
you remember when the status was like the word "is" was like baked into everyone's? So it was like JP Bertram is, Benny Wehage is, and then at one point they took the "is" away, but we kept writing statuses like the "is" was there, so it just nothing made sense.
Yeah. I have a few from like 15 years ago. It says JP Bertram is stuck in a hotel in Weed, California. So it was as of 2009. It was still.
Why were you stuck in Weed, California? I only know Weed because we drove through there on the way to Shasta weekend.
Yeah, I think I was just driving home. And that's it. I was.
And then you stopped. You stopped at a hotel in Weed.
Yeah, I used to always stay at a hotel in Weed.
50 miles.
It's not that far.
Weed.
What? Right
from Shasta, isn't it really close?
Oh, I didn't go from Shasta. I drove from Corvallis.
Oh,
yeah. I was going home.
Going home.
Okay.
Not Corvallis.
Going home. Not to a boat home on Lake Shasta. I thought of this the other day because I was talking about a similar weekend for a friend who went to a different university. Does Lake Shasta weekend still happen at Oregon State?
It has to.
Yeah, I think so.
Does it?
It has to.
Yeah.
For sure.
You got to check the TikTok.
Well, I didn't know if the pandemic killed it.
The kids are smarter these days. They know what's public. They ain't trying to document this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm also not trying to fuck up my algorithm by searching for
Lake Shasta.
Current college. I just want to know if it's happening.
Yeah, right.
That's the extent of the involvement I need.
You're going to go down the deepest, darkest rabbit hole of just dudes beer bonging off the top of boats into the lake and like kids in bathing suits. And you're going to be clicking through to the night turns into dawn.
Thankfully, because of the time when I went to Lake Shasta, JP, there are still several dozen Facebook albums, each with like 883 images of those Lake Shasta weekends that are still very much on Facebook. So if I get nostalgic for Lake Shasta, I can take that trip down memory lane pretty easily.
I can see your albums. Some of them are still there. One is literally called All.
I think that was the first one, and I did not put all of them in there. See, I'm always messing with people. A step ahead.
One is bona fide sing champs. Nice job. I'm glad that one's.
Ooh, yeah. We did win sing.
Good job on that.
We did win sing. Yeah. There's like two more that are. One is like
Vikings
my party.
Camp.
What you know about that, and then another one is my party. What you know about that continued.
Oh, yeah. I have a part 2. I have a super duper hyphy weekend. And then I have a super duper hyphy weekend part 2.
Weekday.
Which was just the next day. It might have been a weekday.
We have to go check to see what happened to the hyphy house / PBR house.
The hyphy house is still there.
The hyphy house is still there.
The hyphy house is, yeah.
The hyphy house was a well cared for house.
The PBR house it's where we threw the original super duper hyphy party.
The Pabst house was condemned 20 years ago and is somehow still standing.
No, I remember like after, shout out to Paul and Joel. That was their names. Those are the dudes. Yeah. They were like 5th year, 6th year seniors that live there.
Paul and Joel, if you're listening.
Yeah. I don't know. I know their last names, but we used to go to their house every single weekend and they were like, you guys just bring the party. We've got Pabst. And they had so much cases of Pabst. I don't know how. One time they sent a photo of a truck bed to the brim of the bed full of Pabst cases. They're like, we just bought out the gas station, all of their PBR.
That was before I knew you guys, but the legend got to my year and my incoming freshman way back when that happened, that they just asked Pabst for a sponsorship and Pabst said yes.
Well, that's what we heard too, but there's no way. They just bought Pabst.
They bought Pabst. They said,
hey, I buy that Pabst sent them like one case and one beer sign to be like, put
Pabst
this up.
Sent them tons of
take 800 Facebook pictures with this, kids,
and put it in the same album.
They didn't send them any beer, but they sent them like tons of like decor. So they had like a Pabst.
This was before
banner.
This was before
plaques.
hashtags.
They had literally everything Pabst. They were so into Pabst. Someday I ended up like buzzing their heads. I was like upstairs in the house buzzing their heads.
You were a very good college barber, JP.
I was, I know.
Yes.
But
that's a part of your life you need to unpack on like a summer episode of this podcast.
Under their pillow was a case of Pabst. Under their pillow, like they're like sleeping on it. I mean, it was everywhere. It was absolutely
those guys
everywhere.
must have had the most fucked up necks after that.
Well, hopefully they're listening or someone knows them. They're like Eastern Oregon dudes.
They probably became the guys who like invented the pillow cube that was on Shark Tank and won millions of dollars. We came up with this when we used Pabst as a pillow in college and somehow gained the perfect like lumbar support. I
don't know. But you just real quick to close this up, like that when the times are changing, when you return back to college and your buddies have a house now, 2 houses down Kings from the Pabst house, and you're like, let's go knock on the door, see who lives there now, because you knew that the guys lived there were leaving, but they never paid anyone rent. And they never paid bills. They just handed off the house to their next like group of friends if people were moving out. They didn't know who the landlord was. It was like they were squatters essentially. But
what?
Yeah, so we're like, they must have handed off to like someone that we met at their house. So we tried to go to the house one night. It's all dark, except there's some lights on, but it's dark. But we're like, okay, no one's home or no one's like partying here. So we go like, let's go check the back door in the kitchen. So we go knock on the back door. It's already open, like ajar. So we're like, what? Hello? We like go inside, like, hello, anyone here? Hello, Paul, Joel, and found
Paul, Joel's friends.
Yeah. Found their absolutely epic kegerator, their old school kegerator, which was like a giant, like 1950s fridge that only had PBR in it.
Yeah.
Thrown down the stairs to the basement and like wedged itself in the stairwell halfway down. So we were like, someone could be in the basement, trapped. We're leaving. I don't want to deal with this.
Oh,
wow.
I wonder what happened.
I don't know.
Someone was paying the bills.
Someone was paying the bills, but no one knows. No one knew who it was.
Or someone wasn't.
Oh no, they didn't have heat.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I remember that. It was really cold in the winter time.
Oh my God. Yeah, and their floor had like a 1-inch layer of PBR sludge on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's plenty of times people
What was
slipped.
the address of that house? We're not blowing up anyone's spot because I want to know if someone lives in it right now.
It was just on the corner of Kings and
Harrison, right?
Harrison?
Kings and Harrison or Kings and Van Buren?
It was whatever's on the corner across from the church parking lot.
That's Harrison, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Harrison. If you live on the corner of Kings and Harrison, DM us.
Yeah. If you're there or you lived there at any point, it's Kingston Harrison. So the address.
If you ever partied there, I mean, everyone's welcome to DM us at all times, essentially. Especially if you want to talk about parties in Corvallis.
It was 2004 Northwest Harrison Boulevard.
Isn't that where Bud?
It was 2004, and it was 2004. No, that was a different spot. Similar vibes, though, Penny.
Very similar vibes.
The best part was you could go outside and like be drinking a beer like on the corner, but on the property. Like they'd have like a bonfire pit out front, and you could just stand there. It wasn't like you had to like hide behind like closed curtains or anything from the cops. And it was like cops would just drive by, and like every party at the time, if any noise complaint happened in Corvallis, they were knocking on your door. Like it didn't matter if it was like 6 people at 11 o'clock at night, they were knocking on the door. But for whatever reason, the Paps House could have like 50 people with 25 of them out in the front yard. And the cops never stopped.
There were a few spots like that where it was like cops just don't come.
Yeah,
and I was
I never understood. Was one of them.
I never understood why. We had a couple different houses where cops, no matter how loud, there was like nights where it was like, let's try to get a noise complaint here, and it still didn't happen.
Your house, your townhouse that you lived with Adam Keefe, that house was a magnet for cops. I feel like
not the first year, not the second year. Yes, the first year there was 0 the first year, and then like 100 the second year.
Yeah,
it was like before. I think there's a couple cops we honestly Corvallis Police Department officers we could even contact for this. I feel like there had to have been some summer meetings ahead of school years where it's just like, all right. Here are the zones where things really went crazy last year.
Yeah. You gave me your laptop stolen didn't help.
Yeah, when my laptop got stolen, which I did get back the same night. Shout out Officer Larson, who helped me out a lot with that.
Oh, nice.
So Kiefer blames me for calling the cops on my own party when my laptop was stolen out of the room.
Shout out Officer Larson.
Yeah.
Sorry you broke your ankle in the house behind mine, chasing people leaving my house.
Did you really?
Yeah.
We're getting way too convoluted this early in the show.
This is supposed to be at the end of the
show. It really can be. That's why when you call your show belligerent, you can talk about whatever you want, whenever you want. That's the freedom, and that's what the listeners want. Hi, listeners. Thank you for being here. If this is your first time listening, you just got a great preview as to what this show is like. Adjust your expectations accordingly. But thank you for being here. Thank you for giving this show a try. My name's Terry Horseman, at Terry Horseman on Twitter, and at Terrence Horseman on Instagram.com. Joined with my 2 best friends from college, the aforementioned Benny with the good quaff, Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Wehage with the good jersey, too. Especially good quaff tonight. He's Benny L 1986 on the social media channels. And JP Bertram at the Trill J on Twitter and at JP Bertram on Instagram. I'll do the real bit towards the end, but I'm moving things around in the show right now because I can. And it feels good. Feels good to change it up a little bit.
Yeah. Do whatever you want.
You do you.
You can follow us on Twitter at BelligeBeeves. Belligerent Beeves everywhere else, and this would be a great time to give the show a 5-star review. We just gave you some great Pabst House stories. The price is taking 2.5 seconds to give the podcast a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast, and we'll really appreciate it and send you a personal thank you note. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit more about St. Patrick's Day, and I also wanted to ask you guys about Kate Middleton because JP mentioned Kate Middleton last week, which compelled me to ask Sam about Kate Middleton this week. And now I actually know what's happening or what's not happening with the royal family.
Dude.
But I think we should start talking about the Oregon State royal family, which is Oregon State women's basketball and Oregon State baseball at the present moment.
Who are showing up to public
JP, I think you have one burning Kate Middleton reference. So I'm going to give you have 30 seconds to say everything you'd like to say right now about the Princess of Wales, I believe.
So, the royal family is rumored to have an announcement. This was like 24 hours ago. It was rumored that within 72 hours, they were going to have a major announcement. And the announcement, I can leak it here, is that the royal family is now sponsoring the pod. And from this point forward... they are responsible for all Photoshop duty that is required for any content.
Our social media intern is better at Photoshop than whoever is doing it. My favorite detail of this whole saga is that the Belligerent Beeves, a podcast with the explicit tag and a beer in the logo and belligerent in the title, is 100 times better at PR than the British monarchy. That makes me happy. All those years toiling away in PR offices and spending time messing around with InDesign, JP, you mastering, Final Cut and Fruity Loops and all the other now archaic technology.
Fruity Loops.
We could run the entire United Kingdom if just given the chance. And it'd be so much smoother than what's happening right now.
We are going to get a chance. Part of the sponsorship deal is that we get to be the monarchy ourselves for 1 month.
How many princesses have we misplaced? Zero.
Okay.
That is true.
I think.
that is true.
None.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh man. Well, I do hope all goes well for everyone involved, I guess. But I think the festivities in Ireland, who don't harbor a lot of love for the British monarchy, were maybe turned up a little bit more. We don't have time to go into St. Patrick's Day details, but did you guys have a good St. Patrick's Days across the board?
Yeah, a lot of Guinness and a lot of slaying. It was fun.
There you go. And a lot of Selection Sunday.
Ooh, yes. I just ripped out tons of roots from my yard.
Oh,
that's how I spent. Yeah.
So Irish of you to be plowing around for the peat.
I was ripping out roots like they were potatoes.
Okay, I have to read one more. One tweet just texted me from Boo, who is 2 rooms over. I love you, baby. Thank you for contributing to the show. But Kate Middleton is George Washington's 8th cousin, 7 times removed. She has until 2026, when America turns 250, to dismantle the monarchy. So far, she's ahead of schedule.
This is a good factual story. I like it.
That's from Alexis Coe on Threads. Thank you for the assist, babe.
Benny just looked to the side like he had somebody whispering in his ear about the factuality of that statement.
It's like we're all the same.
Hold on. I'm getting some urgent news.
For further context, Alexis Coe is an author of a biography of George Washington. George Washington biographer. That's the end of that. Let's talk about Oregon State sports, for gosh sakes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our beers first. As I mentioned, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, I am drinking a Guinness. My goodness, my Guinness. I love Guinness. I've always have. Don't drink it enough anymore, but bought a bunch for this St. Patrick's Day, and obviously have a bunch left over. So that is what I'm drinking. And I'm drinking it out of a crisp Minnesota Vikings pint glass in honor of a second week of Kirk Cousins no longer being overpaid by the Minnesota Vikings. So
let's go.
Gobs of celebrations this holiday season.
Yeah, that's worth a Guinness or two.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not drinking a Guinness because I meant to save a Guinness for tonight from last night, and
you have a Guinness sign on the wall behind you.
I do have a Guinness sign. I have a couple of them.
You have two?
You have two. Wow.
I have 3. 1, 2. Actually, that's a Guinness sign. 3, 4.
You are like the classier PBR house.
Yeah, I feel like it. Except for they don't send this to me for free.
The Guinness Club.
The Irish PBR house.
I have one more sign, but it's not up because it didn't really fit in here. I think it's not up. Yeah, it's supposed to go up there. All right, so
what is your beer?
Yeah, well, I was saying after Guinnesses last night, yesterday afternoon, and some slains, I forgot I was saving one, and I gave it to super secret producer Skinder to share Guinness with me.
That's like a contribution to the show, though.
Yeah, it was my final 2 cans of Guinness, and we just enjoyed them together, and now I don't have one for tonight. So instead,
I'll run to get another one at the halfway point, and I'll show it to you.
Thank you. I have another Dreamboat IPA from Worthy Brewing in Bend, Oregon.
Nice. Shout out Bend.
I think I've had this on the show.
Bend. We love Bend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've had Worthy though. Cascades, right? We need to start marketing more exclusively towards the Cascades campus.
We
Chestnut checkers.
We should definitely run our TV ads for the Yeah, let's metro area.
Put the commercial in Central Oregon if you haven't already, JP.
Dude, I've said before, I love Corvallis, but Oregon State would have such a dope and unique vibe if it was in Bend instead of Corvallis. Bend would be a cool college town.
Yeah,
we'd be.
Or if Bend was next to Corvallis, and somehow we could have both within like walking distance. You'd be like, I'm gonna walk over to Bend.
Within walking distance.
Yeah. Go through a tunnel and you're just in a completely
walking
different
from
climate.
campus to the Peacock. So like not really walking distance, but like walkable distance.
Walking to like a shuttle and then riding the shuttle for like 20 minutes and then
if even 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So you're just replacing Philomath with Bend at this point.
Yeah. Or Junction City.
Philomath. Or Tangent. Tangent I feel like is a safer replacement. No offense if you live in Tangent.
Yeah.
Benny, do you have a vice tonight?
I don't, but I smoked a joint last night that I thought was regular, but it was, you can get infused joints that are like infused in hash oil. And so, it was more than I wanted, more than I expected. I kind of greened out, which, hey, is a tradition for St. Patrick's Day.
Hey, nothing more Irish than something
in more ways than one.
No, yeah.
Did you watch anything fun while you were greening out, or did you just melt into the couch?
I watched 2 episodes of Dateline last night.
You haven't watched Workaholics yet?
No. Oh, that's what I was. Yeah, I was meaning to do that. I haven't yet. I've watched a lot of Superstore lately. Have you guys ever watched Superstore?
I have not, but I've heard it's good.
It is good. It's very good. It's not Workaholics good, but it is good.
We're halfway through season 3.
You ever steal statues, bro? You ever steal a dragon statue? Are you here for study hall? Nah, I'm here for the booty scratching contest. Keep up. Keep up. We're just going to quote that episode exclusively for the rest of this episode.
I'm in.
Hey, and shout out to Jay for sharing the actual song, the opening song for Workaholics. That is a really good song.
It is a good song.
Yeah.
I told you guys, it's catchy. I played it for the mini bebe on the way to school, and he was like, "This is really cool." I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
And I never knew it was a real song for like 13 years, and here I am listening to it for the second time with my 7-year-old. Very weird.
There could be another like new installment of Workaholics, like once like they have like 7-year-olds then shit.
Oh, they have kids, but yeah.
Do they? Does Uncle Blazer have kids?
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh. See?
I wonder what kind of dad he's like.
One of them's name is like Mars, so that'll tell you all you need to know.
Oh, nice. That's Uncle Blazer's kid. Is Mars.
Yeah.
Nice. That is amazing.
I don't need to wonder what kind of dad he is. I think I know. Like no offense. I just think I have all the information I need to finish that thought. Well,
nice.
Anyways, we're not here to talk about Workaholics. We're here to talk about dope Oregon State athletics. So with that, I will raise my glass. Raise it to Jay's. Benny, you can just raise your proverbial one. You got your Adidas
Kool-Aid.
carafe filled with 68 ounces of Kool-Aid. And I'm saying to Oregon State women's basketball, but especially to Talia von Oelhoffen and AJ Marat, the 2 members of this year's team who have been on the team for each of the last 3 seasons, who've gone through a lot to get back to this moment. And we're going to talk more about it, but TVO and AJ, thank you so much for everything you've done for the Beavs. This one's for you. Slancha.
Yeah.
Slancha.
So I think we should transition to basketball a bit. I think we take this opportunity to talk obviously a lot about the women's basketball team, but also the men's, as one program season is just getting started and the other is drawn to an abrupt close. But obviously, let's start with the positive side. The women's basketball team deserves all of the shine in the world. obviously getting seeded with a 3 seed, which means they get to host the first 2 rounds. Assuming they make it to the second round, I want to give Eastern Washington all the credit because we haven't beaten them yet. But I think we feel pretty confident right now. And this is the first time in a while that the team has been seeded this high. It's actually been since 2019 since we got to host, and our first tournament appearance overall since 2021. And you could see it was just great for them to get that moment, to have the viewing party, which I believe was in the Toyota Club at Reeser, that hundreds of fans showed up to, and have the team, sitting in a row on TV, getting to react to the name going up on the bracket, having the fans there and get the chance to cheer. We've talked about it a lot this season with how much bad luck this team got struck with last year in terms of injuries and just all the stuff they had to go through to get here. I think that was a very fitting cap to the regular season chapter of this team's story. And now I'm very excited for Friday night, 5 p.m. Pacific time at Gill against Eastern Washington. But yeah, let's just start with, now that we're turning the page to March Madness, to the NCAA tournament, we're back. It's been 3 calendar years and 2 disappointing seasons to get here, but just watching the selection show and looking ahead to Friday, how do you guys feel about this team with the regular season and conference tournament now completely in the rear view, and our name on the number 3 seed line in the official women's basketball March Madness bracket?
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead,
I think that this team, has shown us in the past, like, they can get really hot, and when they get hot, you need to watch out. You just hope that all of that comes together. I think that there were some, performances in the conference tournament that maybe weren't what we wanted to see, but the slate is clean right now. I am worried about Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington hasn't lost since February 1st. And they have a
Big
really
Sky's
good
finest.
Yeah. I guess they won by 1 game, but like, it was them and Northern Arizona that were sort of like the cream of the crop there. But the thing that scares me is they're really good on the road. They're 12-3 away from Genie, and to me, it doesn't seem like a traditional 14 seeded team. It seems like they should be higher than that. So that makes me a little bit nervous. And then you have a potential matchup with Nebraska, and
they're good.
Putting it in the notes, they are good. They, like you said, they beat Iowa,
and they should have beat Iowa again in the Big Ten Conference Tournament final. Like, they had that shit.
Yeah, and then if you get through those 2 schools, you have a matchup most likely, and I would say almost 100% chance that you're going to be playing South Carolina. So.
It would be Notre Dame first.
Yeah. Oh, Notre Dame first. And
we have to be like the 5th best team in the country and then get the 1st best team in the country.
It is going to be a very difficult road.
We can put as much hype on this team as deserved and be very excited. Playing at Gill obviously helps. It is a tough draw.
It's a very tough draw. But this is, we've talked all year about how the Pac-12 was the most dominant conference or the most stacked conference in women's basketball. And that is, I don't think there's any argument from anyone there. And so that gets you battle tested. And I think that's going to prove to be really valuable to this team. And, yes, you finished 4th in the conference, but you were within shooting range of that number 1 spot really all year long, except for maybe the last couple of games. So I think that it's fair to say that you are at the same caliber as the USC, Stanford, and UCLA's. And you just, like, it has to all come together quickly. Like, you can't have a little stumble into the tournament. You have to be playing your best basketball from the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, this team, I don't think it was just like a game or 2 away from potentially being tops of the Pac-12. I honestly feel like when it comes to looking at the teams that did finish ahead of them, like Stanford got us 3 times, and UCLA got us, USC got us. there's a reason why those teams ended up as 1s and 2 seeds, but it wasn't because we were at full health playing the best ball we can, and I'm hoping that we continue to have a nice little health streak through this tournament, because I think that will serve us well, and that will actually prove that we as a 3 seed are actually underrated. The regional we're in, though, is an absolute gauntlet. Like we already touched on that. To have to get through, I am a little bit worried about Eastern Washington, only in the sense that they already beat Gonzaga, or they lost to Gonzaga by 2, and then they pretty much stacked the rest of their wins. So
right.
Gonzaga, though, while I think gets the benefit of the doubt with their name, I don't think that they're actually like a true 4 seed. So it kind of looks inflated if you're looking in comparison. I still think, though, that Eastern Washington has more to prove and probably feels that chip on their shoulder in a way, and would be very, very happy to play spoiler on the road against the host team. Nebraska or A&M, we'll see what happens there. But again, if we pull through against Eastern Washington, we're at home. I like our odds. I think it gets tough as soon as we start obviously seeing Notre Dame, South Carolina, obviously in South Carolina. And then though, what I think is playing out to be, and what I'm hoping for, is a Part 4 rematch against Stanford with both teams healthy in the Final Four.
In the national semifinal.
That is the dream scenario. I'm not going to shy away from my bracket. I'll leak it right here. I've got Oregon State, Stanford in the Final Four facing off, and I've got Iowa, UConn on the other side of the bracket, and I've got Oregon State over Iowa, because again, I know that it's been a year removed since we watched Iowa take it to Oregon State at Chiles Center, but
it's been over a year.
Yeah, but that team, the Iowa team, was better then, and we were worse then, and they pretty much just decided to take Reagan out of the game, and so did Scott. I don't think he wanted to just drag her through a game like that as a freshman, and he saved her confidence.
They're a better matchup for us this year than they were last year, with no longer having Monica Shinano down low.
So I think our odds are actually looking really well if we survive, if we Sweet 16, Elite 8.
I'm really excited because we're gonna have Belligerent Bees bracket group somewhere that will be open on the ESPN tournament app. And we're us driving traffic to ESPN, even though no one watches the Pac-2. But whatever, it's simple and we have it set up already. I'm really looking forward to just seeing how many listeners pick Oregon State to beat South Carolina in the Elite 8. And I bet a lot of people will have us going all the way. It's been a while since we've gotten, seeding, this high. It's literally been since 2017. We were a 2 seed in 2017. So it's been a good chunk of time since we had any kind of national hype on our name going into the tournament. Just to briefly give Eastern Washington credit, I think what I'm expecting out of Friday is them keeping it closer longer than anyone is going to be comfortable with. They have a great combination of guards in Jamie Loera and Aaliyah Alexander, who can both really shoot it. So I could see them getting hot and just draining threes. But
they haven't beaten a top 25 team, let alone.
No, they haven't. And a couple different people who are not in the Oregon State community have texted me today, say, "Hey, I'm filling out my bracket, my women's bracket. How do you feel about your Beavs?" And I'm like, "We haven't lost at Gill in games that Reagan Beers has been healthy for, so maybe look elsewhere for upsets." Nebraska is good. Jazz Shelley is one of the best players in the Big Ten. She can also really shoot it, one of Australia's finest. But I'm not picking against the Beavs at home at full strength. And even if someone does get dicked up on Friday or something like that, like, we're very good down low. I put it in the notes. Both Reagan and Tamia are having they're both in the top 10 for defensive rebounding prowess in a single season this year. So Reagan's healthy again. Tamia, I think Tamia probably had the best showing towards the end of the season and in the conference tournament.
Yeah,
collectively, maybe with the exception of Donovan. And we also played 2 really good teams in the conference tournament and beat Colorado in double overtime in a game that was a rock fight. And we're right there with Stanford in a game where like we didn't have the best shot making that we're capable of. So while I don't think these games will be run away, and all three teams deserve some credit, I haven't watched Texas A&M much. I didn't see a ton of SEC women's hoops this year, but respect to all the three other teams coming to Corvallis this weekend. But I am not worried. I expect to be in the Sweet 16 and would be pretty upset if we weren't. But then also that's how the tournament goes. But I feel pretty good about that. And then it's just, yeah, you see Notre Dame and South Carolina, and then we would need them to beat South Carolina to see them. But like Indiana's really good. Indiana last year was receiving number 1 ranked votes at times, and they've had a lot of injuries over the last couple seasons and haven't been as strong this year, but they still have all that talent back and well coached, good team. We're gonna be playing definitely playing some blue bloods in this region, which is exciting. That's what you get to March Madness for. And we're sadly not going to the Portland Regional if we win these next 2 games. Damn it. But it happens. Let's turn Albany into the Corvallis of upstate New York.
Or turn it into the Albany of Oregon.
Friend of the pod, Ashton and Tim will both be there. Ashton Bachusa, who's been on the show, and former Oregon State football assistant Tim Barnes. They will both be. They've confirmed already. So they must know that we're winning these next 2 games. And they'll be there in Albany screaming their asses off, as we know they will. But yeah,
what's
excited.
What's Notre Dame ranked in the top 25?
I think they would be 8 because
South Carolina is the overall number 1 seed.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
but
they're
nice. And that's as much as it goes. Like the committee doesn't pay attention to the top 25. They're the number 8 overall seed by the committee.
Got it.
They're number 9 by an AP poll or some of the polls.
Yeah,
but then that stops after 2 seeds. So it's like the number one will be in the same region as the 4th number 2. But that doesn't make us the number 1, number 3. They have to move things around a little bit after that point.
Right.
But I think that has them. Yes, I think they are. I saw something. I think Rebecca Lobo or someone mentioned addressed that question. But it's exciting, man. We're back. We're back in this tournament. The late 2010s years were so fun. How good this team was, and just winning multiple games, especially at Gill. This will be the 5th time under Ruick that we've gotten to the tournament and gotten to host. He is 7-1 in those tournament games that have been played at Gill. The one loss was in the second round against the pretty upstart Gonzaga team. So it's not an undefeated record, but I feel good knowing that he's tasted defeat and knows not to overlook it. Not that I would think Scott would overlook any team at all, but yeah, great opportunity. Going to be nationally televised, ESPNU for Friday and for Sunday, and I'm just really hoping that these 2 games are fun and just good results for us, so that we get another week, another episode of this show, just hyping shit up and potentially playing against South Carolina. Because man, what an opportunity!
No kidding.
Scott has met South Carolina and Don Staley twice in the tournament. Not surprisingly, both times South Carolina was a 1 seed, and both times South Carolina won. They don't lose a lot. They haven't lost in like 750 days. It's but they lost once in 750 days when they lost to Iowa in the Final Four last year. But in 2014, when the Beavs were in 9 seed, they beat Middle Tennessee State in the first round and then lost to South Carolina 78-69 in the second round. That game obviously being played in South Carolina. And then the last tournament game we had in 2021, after beating Florida State in commanding fashion in the first round as a number 8 seed in the 2021 tournament, we played number 1 seed South Carolina and lost 59-42 to South Carolina. The eventual semifinals. They made the Final Four that year. They did not win the national championship that year, but very good team. We're in a good region, you guys.
Yeah,
very good.
Going to be some great basketball on deck coming up. But
5
p.m. Pacific time on Friday. JP, are you driving down for it?
It's my wife's birthday, man. We already had.
So you got her tickets
dinner
to
plans.
The game for her.
No, we already had dinner plans. It's not in the cards for Friday, but we'll see.
We'll see about Sunday.
Yeah.
So South Carolina is playing the team that wins the 16-16 matchup, and one of the teams that's in that 16-16 matchup is Presbyterian. And South Carolina played Presbyterian early this season and won 99-29. So, yeah, they're good.
Perfect analysis, Betty.
Yeah.
That's like the moment in Billy Madison when he's in the decathlon in the music section and Eric Gordon plays like perfect Mozart, and then Adam Sandler just turns and goes, "He's good." Oh man, well, it's gonna be fun. We'll post the link to join our bracket challenge for this, and if you don't pick Oregon State to go all the way, you will be shamed for it. But don't let us shame you into making decisions. Say it with your chest. And I think we can say the top 3 finishers will get Belligerent Beeves swag of some kind. Is that fair?
Yeah.
We can talk with our financier is cool with that. Top 3 at least. If you finish in the top 3, you'll get some kind of merch, some kind of a merch drop.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be cooler than the official Nike shirt that I'm wearing that says Beavers Energy in Times New Roman font. Bold Times New Roman font. It is bold.
That is our font. That is literally our brand font.
This one is?
Yeah.
Is it? I thought it was the same on every shirt.
No, that's our brand font. But
I guess it is. But I agree. I thought it was the same on every shirt too. But I
love Times New Roman, so I'm not hating. I only write in Times New Roman.
But who knows? It might not be our font for long. Did you guys see? I don't know what this really entails, but you guys see? This is to not divert too much from hoops, as we still have something to cover to discuss. But Beaver football put out a tweet about something like,
"What?
Take a look at the inside of Beaver football." Or it's on March 22nd, and it's already been rumored about that there's potentially new uniforms coming. DNA, Beaver DNA, a look. What does it say? A look inside Oregon State football. Tune in. So there's clearly some sort of like production occurring. Even below in like a small fine print, it's got the fight song lyrics. It's hard to really know what this is teasing, but part of me wonders if there will be a new uniform reveal, and I wouldn't be surprised.
March 22nd.
Oh,
same day as game 1 of the March Madness.
Is that where it says Oregon State? The text that says Oregon State in the bottom left-hand corner.
The script?
Is that new?
No, that's been there for a long time.
Has it?
Yeah, but it's not like an official script, I don't believe. It's what some of the creative teams use for like branding purposes.
Dude, this has to be the New Jerseys.
Yeah, you'd think so. I don't know.
I hope they're so sick.
I'm just spreading rumors.
I'm looking for clues.
I'm just creating rumors. I'm not even spreading anything. This is my brain creating rumors.
Can I just say, going down this rumor rabbit hole, if they have this, like if they're making it this public and they're putting a graphic out like that, you would think that it's a significant change and not just a little tweak.
Well, what I like about it is I've heard that they're going back to like something that's a little bit more blue collar, typical Oregon State aesthetic.
But the black and yellow construction tape at the bottom kind of makes
and then
think.
Beaver DNA, it definitely is tying back to a little more than of what we're used to seeing for.
Can I share not much of a scathing critique, but a critique nonetheless that I would have said if I was in the room, that also our friend Sly Clydesdale as the top comment that I can see on this. This is something that Oregon State sports does a lot. The tune in part of this. Tune in, and it doesn't say where. and it doesn't say what time, doesn't say how. Tune in to what? Just Twitter all day? Sling TV, so you might catch the belligerent Beavs ad, official television ad, maybe.
Yeah,
I need more detail. Oregon State athletics, again, not a scathing critique, not trying to come down too hard, but
you might be getting
call
it.
to
This
action.
could be the tease.
I understand it's a tease, but the tuning in is a call to action. There needs to be at least a little bit more information to make that call to action possible.
Maybe it's tune in sometime on March 22nd to find the time to tune in later than the day.
Tune into the tune in. That's triple stamp and a double stamp, no erases. And I applaud that. But I would like to know a little bit more. There it is. Anyway, tune in March 22nd, 2024 to whatever the football team's fucking doing.
Whatever it's happening.
It better not be at 5 p.m. Pacific time on maybe it's at 4:59 Pacific time on ESPNU right before the Oregon State basketball game against Eastern Washington in the first round of March Madness. That would be great.
Maybe all the players that go to the game wearing the new uniforms in the
that would be sick. Yeah. Do that.
Oh,
tune
into ESPN.
Support women's hoops and flaunt the new threads at the same time.
I just sent you guys a tweet.
Get some gill dogs for the offensive linemen too while you're at it. Eating good, getting ready, getting bulked up during spring camp, doing it right.
Penny, you didn't send us a tweet. You sent us a text.
I mean, a text. A text. I think those would be the unis that they might try to.
Are you talking about the 1996 cover of the football program?
No, I'm talking about 1998 cover of the football program.
Or this selfie you sent from the 2006 spring game where you're wearing puka shells
and little diamond earrings. Look how small they are.
Bring tiny diamond studs back.
You were so mad when you got those. I was there when you got those done, and you were like, "So when can I replace these with like bigger diamonds?" And they were like, "In like 2 to 3 weeks or something." And you were like, "What? I have to wear these for 2 weeks."
I don't know if I'm gonna want earrings in 2 to 3 weeks.
Meanwhile, JP had a fucking diamond the size of his earlobe that he wore.
It was hanging so low on my ear. It like stretched out my earlobe. That's why
JP always says the volume's not loud enough on the podcast. The diamond rune is here. Turn up your input volume. Turn on your original sound. I can't hear anything. Don't need to hear anything when you've got that kind of bling in your ears. Yep. All right. Anything more on women's basketball, you guys?
No, go get them. Go get them, Beavs.
Go get them.
Yeah, go get them.
Beat the Eagles. Beat Nebraska and or Texas A&M. And then we'll worry about the rest later.
I won't even worry. I'm chill.
I won't even worry. I'm very chill.
So chill.
Perfect segue to things I am worried about. The state of Oregon State men's basketball.
Yikes.
Something I've essentially have always been worried about.
Perpetually worried.
The season's over. Although I looked up on my Scores app, I saw the whole field for the NIT, and then I was like, oh, I wonder what the CBI is doing this year. And then I was like, wait, is the CBI even still real? And I saw CBI round of 16, which is what it starts at. So I love the branding there, CBI. And only 8 teams were listed. And the Scores app had no knowledge on the other 8 teams. So, and I know there's a new trend in this now where I think with how much is happening in the portal, something I think we're going to see. I believe St. John's, who should be in the men's tournament, turned down a bid to the NIT because Pitino just wants to start recruiting and the transfer portal is already open.
Yeah.
So I think, unfortunately, I've always enjoyed the NIT and I've really enjoyed the CBI a couple of times. I don't need to keep enjoying the CBI. It's not like it's centuries old institution like the NIT, but I think this sort of an unintentional part of the transfer portal era, we could be the end of the NIT in the next decade or so, maybe even earlier.
Right.
So if the CBI is desperate and needs teams, I could see them like, all right, who's next on the list? Oregon State.
No, us, the belligerent Beavs. We'll just make it a 3-on-3 tournament.
Well, wasn't there a tournament below the CBI for a few years, like the collegeinsiders.net tournament? There is, I think there was.
Yeah,
and I don't think it lasted very long. Let the Belligerent Beavs Invitational. It's just whoever wants to keep playing, just show up.
You don't even have to be on the
you
team.
Have to pay your way.
Just show up.
Winner gets T-shirts with my old high school basketball photo with "We are all witnesses."
We witnessed you win. That's what it says.
Printed in this official brand font underneath it.
Times New Roman.
And everyone gets contemporary hair plugs to give them matching hairlines to myself in the photo. That we can table that we can talk offline about this.
Well, we'll workshop it, but maybe
completely fail-safe $1 million idea.
Yeah.
So Oregon State men's basketball season is over. There are some moments, I will say, there's some fun moments, some good moments, but I will also say it did not go well. I don't think even the general positive leaning, glass half full people that we are on the show could say, no, here's why it went well. There were times they played well. There was some good results, but not enough of them. And as we talked with our pal Nick Daschel on the pod a few weeks ago now, we do fully expect Wayne to be back.
He is back. They already announced he's coming back.
They've announced he's coming. They've announced he's coming back. Well, the British monarchy made an announcement about an announcement and then announced no longer having an announcement. So I'm just cold on announcements right now. But I do, as mentioned, Oregon State is a better functioning entity than the British monarchy, despite not having a conference or a kingdom, if you will. And also, all right, expected, because we've said it all year long when wanting to address these things. Especially, I know there are people who are really upset, and I'm not trying to diminish anyone's anger about the state of the program right now, but looking at it from, a point of view that's of this earth and on this planet, we kind of knew Wayne was going to be back again.
Yeah.
At the moment.
You have to look at it this way. If we didn't bring Wayne back next year, we probably wouldn't have a program at all within the next 3 to 5 years. At all. And
it would certainly be a very, very difficult financial position to put ourselves in.
And then we would still lose Tinkle potentially at that point, with no money left over from the program, nothing being generated from the program, none of the players sticking around thinking that, he's a dead man walking. It would be an impossible rebuild. It would be an impossible hire. It would be an impossible bridge.
And that's why, of course, the program that Scott announces it now, that he's coming back, because there could be kids who, if you don't do that, they're like, well, the department hasn't even said if Wayne's coming back or not.
Yeah.
So
you have to bring him back.
Providence is calling me right now. Villanova is calling me right now.
You have to bring him back though, because the financial situation dictated that first and foremost.
Right.
You had to bring him. You had to bring him back because he's not just your best option next year. He's him being our coach next year and potentially throughout the remainder of his contract with a large buyout. He could be leading to or our best coach in 3 to 4 to 5 years. And I think we need to accept that reality and just make do with it. And what Tinkle has done for this program shouldn't be missed. Not to say that maybe he was always the best man for the job, but for the last 20 years, he has been the best man at the job, if not 20 plus years. And that is something you cannot argue, because it's not about overall win percentage to me. It's not about, losing these close games or having a terrible road record. I wanted to see tournament appearances. And we waited from students onwards through 2 coaches till him, and we got them. And Benny, 8 years ago today, you posted on Facebook. Shout out Facebook Memories. See, it does surface some good things.
It does.
That we sat through every single home game during the 0-18 season for the Pac-12 play. And we would be at Dixon watching coaches scouting and recruiting players playing pickup basketball.
I knew I should have played pickup at Dixon more.
It's true.
How much we would celebrate any year that we weren't last.
Yeah.
Granted, this year we
were
last.
We were last.
But we had a lot of times where we weren't and went a lot further than just last. We had a not 12 season That was maybe the most memorable season for probably any Oregon State basketball fan of all time, regardless of if the team expected to go that far, if it was a flash in the pan. All of that made it maybe the most memorable season for men's basketball of all time. And yeah, we were celebrating getting back to the big dance. And that was a Wayne Tinkle led team. Of course, yeah, he had coaches' sons. He had Gary Payton II. It was definitely a roster built out of opportunity. But
NBA champion Eric Moreland.
Yes.
NBA champion Gary Payton II.
So
the Shaq of Troutdale.
My point is we can't diminish what has happened, but yeah, this season was not great. And I will say it wasn't because we finished last or had one road win or lost too many close games or looked lost too often in the second half offensively. To me, why it was a bad season was because of all the external circumstances made this season a make or break. And we broke because we needed to have a season or something in tournament play to build on that told the talent that Tinkle is developing. Give him credit. He found Jordan Pope. He was one of the only few power conference coaches to offer Jordan Pope a scholarship. He found Tyler Bilodeau. I would say there's some other players that have a lot of potential. Michael Ratai also found him. Those guys are a great core. They're a great core, and they could be something super special. But the problem is convincing them or the people in their ear that what they did this year was a big enough step so that next year won't be so hard, won't be such a big step. And because it looks like next year will be just as big of a step necessary, if not bigger, because the WCC is not some pushover conference, and the Pac-12 this year was bad. So it's going to be a reckoning when we figure out what's the next steps for some of these players in the transfer portal.
And at the time of this recording, we were coming up to a full day of the portal being open. And I don't believe we've seen anyone hitting the portal yet.
Not yet.
No, and according to John Canzano, Jordan Pope said he's all in for Oregon State. Now, Jordan Pope's Instagram and Twitter.
He deleted that one very cryptic tweet. I'm looking at it right now.
Writing.
The thinking, writing hourglass. Maybe he's just a big days of our lives guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, Glenn Taylor Jr. said he was all 110% in
for sure
last year.
Well,
yeah.
I don't want it to be like he could say he could leave here, but I'm just saying while we're recording this, and by the time this is even live, someone may have jumped in. But I do think there's some Oregon State fans who were watching the men's selection Sunday special, being like, God damn, how can we get there? And then listening to the panel talk about the transfer portal opens first thing Monday morning, and being like, our whole team is going to be in that portal within 10 hours from now or something.
Yeah.
As of right now, that's not happening. Pope, I think, had a pretty good, tweet after we lost to UCLA, just about not how we wanted to finish the year, but that thanked the fans for making every moment at Gill special, and that he felt the love, especially at Gill. And I do, Beaver fans this year were awesome.
See you next year.
Sure, but also
I'm just saying, not that he's already checked out. Obviously, he's smart to know.
I'm not saying he has made his decision.
Yeah, I'm not going to dupe the fans because I appreciate their support, even if I'm no longer going to play here. I don't think he's Jordan's
open-ended as he
exactly
should.
As he should. But that's my point, is why this season to me was a failure. I wasn't expecting us to jump to top 4 or 5 or 6 in the conference, but I needed improvement with
I agree.
We saw player improvement across a couple players. We saw some regression across some players. But as a team, we saw no improvement. And so that's what worries me is guys like Jordan say, all right, well, our trajectory right now as a team is improving X every year. Next year, we'll improve about the same, maybe more. So we should be in the tournament. I don't know if anyone can hang their hat on that right now with this team, even with the talent sticking around. I mean, maybe we infuse it with some transfer pickups, but I don't know. I mean, I just think we're in a tough situation. But losing Tinkle, letting Tinkle go, eating that contract, just tying this all back.
Well, yeah.
That would have been a death sentence.
This isn't a program that can afford to pay anyone not to coach here while also paying someone else to coach here.
To convince them to coach here.
We don't need to beat this dead horse. Yeah, but it's like, we're not going to get the top name in a coaching search. We're just not. It didn't happen. It's never happened. It's sure as hell not going to happen now.
Not even the top available, but the top up and coming. There's nobody that's going to hang their hat on this right now. It's just too murky. It's too murky.
Well, but I think if you can keep this team together, then the season next year is going to be more exciting regardless. Because I think if you keep this team together, you're still going to struggle to compete with Gonzaga. You're still going to struggle to compete with St. Mary's. But you could seriously be playing for that number 3 team in the conference, right? And like that's
and you can win that conference tournament.
Well, absolutely. Don't forget, Wazoo's going to be in that conference,
right? And they are really good.
And go Cougs! I love real quick. They're the last game on Thursday night. I love that we got Cougs in the Pac-12 after dark spot.
Yeah,
at least one more Pac-12 after dark action, baby.
Here's what I'm worried about though, is for sure with Pope, he has to be getting NIL money and probably a lot of it in order for him to stay. You have to think the same thing for Bilodeau too. And what I worry about is with all of these high 3-star and 4-star recruits that came to the football team, that NIL money was being thrown around to them as well. So the question is, how much is left? And is men's basketball going to be the sacrificial lamb for this athletic program? And I think that question does have to be asked. Like, yes, Tinkle got us to 2 NCAA tournaments. One of them, when we matched up with VCU, I think that was from start to finish a great season. The Elite 8 run was just that. It was a run. And the team was not going to make the tournament unless they won the Pac-12 tournament. And so like, if you're a booster looking at this, it's like, all right, we really did have one legitimately good season in the last 20 years. Do we want to be throwing our money at that program? And we'll find out in the next couple months. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see Pope and Bilodeau leave. And if Pope and Bilodeau leave, like, then you're starting at ground zero going into a conference that on paper you should run through. I think people look at the West Coast Conference as a low tier conference, but JP, to your point, like the Pac-12 was bad this year. Arizona, I would be surprised if they make the Sweet 16. Yeah, and like the West
40% of brackets are picking. I know it's early, but like 40% of the brackets are on Long Beach State right now. As 15 beating the 2, because everyone knows Arizona's a fraud.
So if you're Oregon State and you go into the West Coast Conference and you're finishing between like Pepperdine and Portland, dude, that is a hole that I don't know how you.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Next year, at least has to be good from a win-loss standpoint.
Yeah.
Like
that's why the future of this program hinges on Tinkle coming back, because he's the best chance to retain Bilodeau and Pope.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Like if the program wasn't in disarray, you theoretically could bring in maybe an up and comer. You can't now, but let's just say for argument's sake that you could. Like, that is a project in its own right, and you can't be a project program next year. You have to show results.
I think I don't think you could sell this to up and coming recruits like coming out of high school, but I think you could sell to maybe potential transfers is take what like the football team is selling. The football team obviously has had 3 consecutive winning seasons and is in a much better spot, but you can be like, our path is clearer next year. It's like, you need to be, but the next year could easily be a 25 win season. Not easily. Sorry. I don't want to,
you can sell that to people though. That is sellable because there's no history.
I think if the team doesn't win 20 games next year as a full-time WCC member, if the win total isn't 20 total, I think it's an unmitigated disaster, which I would change those words if I'm the one in an officially licensed Oregon State polo and talking to someone who is transferring from a situation where they either felt they weren't playing enough or a coach got fired or something. But you can be like, hey, here's who we play. We think we need to win X games to play in the NCAA tournament. And I think you can put a formula in front of a kid on how they factor into that and have it sound not as crazy as we think this team that we just watched this year playing in the NCAA tournament next year actually does sound.
I hear you. I hear you, but here's sort of devil's advocate to that is I don't know the answer to this. Maybe you guys do, but when was the last time the West Coast Conference had more than 2 teams in the tournament? Like it's been Gonzaga and or St. Mary's. And right now, we are not close to being as good as those schools. And you have to be in order to get into the tournament.
I wouldn't be shocked if there's been 2. They've maybe had some 3-bid years, probably not many.
So if you have a 3-bid year, because we keep forgetting, or I keep forgetting, Washington State's in this too. So if you finish behind Washington State, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and
then you're like tied with
show me why we
wouldn't.
Whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Like it's
likely. There's different approaches to this conversation where it's like trying to get into the NCAA tournament next year, or playing a level of basketball week in, week out next year that provides a glimmer of hope and doesn't feel like a goddamn nightmare like this one does. I think if you end up 20-10 overall next year, even if you finish 5th or 6th in the West Coast Conference, like you could say that that's a disaster, but most likely anyone outside of the program isn't going to notice what Oregon State does in men's basketball in the West Coast Conference. So
unless
if you're
do fucking horrible,
unless you do horrible,
which if you finish your conference play at like 5-11 in conference and like 10-23 overall,
I think I'm on board with Tinkle coming back because I don't think there's a way they can actually fire Tinkle. Yeah, I'm on board with them announcing Tinkle's coming back because I think if there is a chance to retain Pope and Bilodeau, and etc., I do think it will take money, but also I think you need to let them know, put some public belief in who's going to be coaching them, and can't unless Pope and Bilodeau walked into Scott Barnes' office and said, we will not play for Coach Tinkle next year, which I don't think happened. But in a hypothetical scenario, that's the only way I'd criticize them in making the announcement now because their hands are tied.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you can pick and choose the points of opportunity that the team has before them, sell them to a kid from some middle of the road program who might have some ability and it just didn't come together for them about whether on playing time, the chance to start to create a winning culture and it being a unique opportunity. Many things that are unique about the opportunity are things that suck. Your conference abandoned you. You don't even know if what this new reality is going to be. A lot of things are uncertain, but that does create someone's got to play for this team. The program's not going to dissolve overnight. Yeah. And there are resources and there are fans. Like I said, the fans were not the problem this year. And they showed up when the team was good or when things were going good, which they weren't often. But some of the big wins had great energy in the building.
Yeah, and to the students too. The Beaver Dam between both the men's and women's programs.
Hell yes.
They have to extend it. They have to extend it.
To be like, we need to figure out how to get the students involved. It's like the students are the only ones doing any goddamn work around here.
Dude, they have to extend the Beaver. I mean, summer episode, we should talk about this, but Gil has to extend the Beaver Dam. It hasn't grown since we were students and the undergrad population has almost doubled.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Gil has a unique feel when that place is packed and you have to do everything in your wheelhouse to get that packed. And you're not even losing money at that point because you're not selling Gil out.
I hate to say it, but they should. There's one of the baselines, of course, is the band and other athletic department students and other kind of guests. And then you've got the one, baseline to baseline side, not behind the benches, though they were at one point. Oh no, they were on TV at one point.
Yeah.
And were they? No, they weren't behind the benches, but they flipped over the. Were they behind the benches?
No, they weren't behind the benches.
The benches they just flipped where the TV. They flipped where the camera was.
Yeah, flip where the camera was. They didn't flip where.
So keep that. It does kind of go up. They do put students up a little higher as a student section seat. But what they need to do is take the other baseline and just make it like a half.
Kind of like how Reeser is, where it's like that extends beyond the end zone. It's mostly the sideline, but there's that end zone too.
But that
or at least have it wrapped behind them.
Well, if you can't put it behind the bench because you've had long time season ticket holders, I get that. That's gonna be a hard one to sell to them. Like, yeah, you've had this seat here, right behind the bench for 40 years. By the way, now we're gonna put a student here for free. It's not gonna go over well. But you get the other baseline bleacher.
All
section.
I know, make it high school basketball. Put the student section right behind the opponent's bench. Get grimy with it.
No, I just think if you put it on the baseline, though, that gives you half of a game, though, where you get a little bit more home court advantage.
Yeah. I think so, man. Like, yeah, you have to do something. You're gonna have to thread the needle. And I think when we first heard about, oh, you're moving to the West Coast Conference, it's like, well, this fucking sucks, but at least we'll do really well. We'll have a better win-loss record. And it's like, maybe like now looking at maybe, and yeah, it's really going to be threading the needle here.
But this was another nugget from Selection Sunday. Pac-12 was bad this year, but that news, I guess, didn't reach the committee, which has had years where it's put only 2 teams from the Pac-12 in the tournament. Remember the year that Washington won the Pac-12 regular season outright, but didn't win the conference tournament, and then didn't get into the NCAA tournament?
No.
That shit happened. It's wild. Who fucking knew, UW? Whatever. I'm just saying. But the committee apparently thought that 1/3 of the conference was deserving this year. And even though they looked like butt against Oregon in the conference tournament final, Colorado is going dancing somehow. And that put 4 teams in, which ups the NCAA tournament units that are coming to the Pac-2. So thank you, Colorado, and thank you, committee.
But you got to realize the committee's thought process there isn't that these teams are playing for the Pac-12.
I know that.
Yeah, I want to point it out for the listeners.
I'm just saying, when there are more, I don't know the exact number of units per team, but I do know there is an expectation that there'd be 3 teams contributing to Pac-12 tournament units, Pac-12 NCAA tournament units coming to Oregon State, Washington State, and there are now 4.
I think it's 500,000.
500.
I think it's 500,000.
It's $1 million. I think it's $1 million per unit.
Is it? Oh yeah, maybe it was 2 million going to each school. I thought 2 million.
So 2 million going to each school.
Yeah.
Dope.
Might be right. Yeah.
Something like that.
Give
2 million each
one,
school, or
one for Pope and 1 for Bilodeau.
There you go.
You know what you could do with $1 million is remodel the lower bowl
as much anymore. Thanks, Biden.
Remodel the lower bowl of Gill and make it one big student section.
I think Gill needs way more than a $1 million project to get up to speed.
I love Gill.
Unfortunately,
don't listen to them, Gill. You're okay to me.
I love Gill, and this is probably not the best time. In fact, it's probably the worst time to do this. But dude, you have to get a new basketball stadium. I'm sorry, I said it. I love Gill. I love the history of Oregon State. But when you see some of the basketball stadiums that some of these schools are getting, Gill looks like a rec gym. It looks like a YMCA.
No argument for me.
Yeah.
The reasons I love it are not why college basketball players love things. I love Gill when it's packed. You can't.
They don't love Gill or any other stadium because the court's the same wherever they're playing. They like the practice facilities, and that we do have.
The practice facility being nice does help.
Yeah.
There are so many things to point your finger at when it comes to what's the biggest issue with Oregon State basketball. Well, I don't necessarily think Gill is an asset. You can't blame it on Gill being outdated. Like that washes over so
Gill
many other issues.
Gill was outdated in the 80s, and we were fine.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
I'm still waiting for Daschle to make that article because I stumped him on that question, and he still is like, I am going to be trying to write an article about that, but I just don't have the answers. How do you fix Oregon State men's basketball? Why are we we're the only school with such rich history that does not have sustained success in the modern era?
Well,
and no one knows the answer to that because there isn't a singular answer.
There's not an
answer. But there's clearly a domino effect or some sort of compounding effect of a lot of misfortunes, malpractice. There's a bajillion reasons, but there has to be some sort of path that tells you, here's why Oregon State's where it is. Here's how you rewind that and fix it. And until then, any player, coach, whatever that comes through, I don't blame them for leaving the program about what it has been since they got here, because there's something about compounding success that doesn't exist at Oregon State anymore when it comes to men's basketball.
I don't get it. I truly don't understand it. You do
and don't blame you, Gil.
I don't blame you, Gil, either. I just out of those 20 seasons, let's go back to 1990. Really, out of those 33 seasons, you made the tournament twice, maybe 3 times. Maybe 1990 wasn't the last time we made the tournament before.
No,
it was.
So you don't pop once in 25 years.
2016 was a 26-year streak.
Yeah. I don't get that. You don't fucking catch lightning in a bottle once.
There's 68 teams that make the tournament.
Yeah, right. Exactly. How does that not happen?
Anything else on men's basketball? Because we have to move on. We've given too much time to the one team that is not playing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's
we can talk more over the course of the off season. Obviously, there's a lot going on, but men's basketball not in the tournament.
Thanks for that clarification.
I was hoping, I was watching Selection Sunday to be maybe someone fucked up and accidentally one of the lines will pop up orange and black with Oregon State on it. And once they announce it, it's like chess. Once you take your fingers off the piece, it's in, yeah. That didn't happen though. Yeah, once you hit send, it's there forever.
And Ethan Thompson's back on the team. Weird.
Time travel, Benny.
Ranked number 2 in the country, not Oregon State men's basketball. Oregon State baseball, despite not picking up a sweep, which has been kind of, the expectation over the last few weeks. 12-game winning streak did come to an end in Salt Lake City, but it was a series dub on the road with a bit of a frustrating final game. Just talking about Oregon State men's basketball for half an hour got me in a bad mood, so I'm starting with this. But a nine-run lead disappeared, which turned into a Sunday loss, and also freshman Trent Caraway is going to be gone for about a month as he recovers from a finger injury. But it was still a series dub, and all of the college baseball experts that felt compelled to reward Oregon State with even higher recognition in the rankings. And they're sitting at number 2 after going 2-1 against the Utah Utes in Salt Lake City. Utah, again, one of the teams in the Pac-12 that we're expecting to be pretty good this year. So had you just shown me that 11-10 loss on its own, I'd be like, I'll take it. But knowing we were up 9-0, it's hard to not be mad about that. But the team is still in great shape with only 2 losses on the year, number 2, and losing Caraway hurts because he's been playing really well, but this team's depth has already been tested, and it has the depth to weather that storm, and you'd rather lose him for 4 weeks when you're in mid-March than when you're in mid-May. So at least it's timing that's there, and hey, are we really going to get on this show and complain about a series win on the road? No, we are not. And this coming week, there is a game in Portland, actually, on Tuesday against the Pilots. JP, it's already sold out?
Sold out, and tickets are impossible to find. So if this episode gets out before tomorrow evening and you're tuning in and you're like, I can't make this game, and I know someone who wants to go that lives in Portland, that person is me. And I would gladly buy those tickets from you face value. Please.
Get JP to the game. Yeah. Can you not even find them on SeatGeek or StubHub right now?
Dude, it's expensive.
I know it's not the biggest venue over there, but
so no,
still very exciting. So people aren't freaking out and getting rid of selling their season tickets, walking away from the team after going 2-1 in Salt Lake City over the weekend, is what I'm hearing.
No, definitely not. Yeah, and on that, like similar to the Caraway situation, like, I mean, dude, this team's gonna lose games. Like, it's baseball. Teams lose games. They lose games on the road. The important thing here, of course, is winning a series. As we saw, the voters are still giving us the benefit of the doubt and rewarding us in the rankings. I know that people are worried about pitching and some of the pitching performances we've seen where the offense has carried us, and the offense went a little quiet later in the game on Sunday, which allowed Utah to, grab the lead, and then we just had no rebuttal to that. I'm in the boat, though, where I would rather that these pitchers have meltdowns like they did on Sunday and do that in mid-March than do it in May or June. So let's just take the series W and be happy, look forward to the UP game and next weekend's series as well. So yeah, I don't really have any critique other than, shit happens and it sucks. Like, yeah, we had a massive lead and we let it slip, and we didn't have our offense firing to save the day like they can have. But maybe this is a good learning experience for the pitching staff. I'm just going to chalk it up in there and just say, they got to get out of them at some point. Again, it's baseball. Weird shit happens. There are parts of the game that you learn from that come in like bigger waves when you have a game like you did on Sunday, especially if you're a pitching staff or a pitching coach, where you learn a little bit more about who to put in pressure situations, who's going to get you out of the jams, who's going to come in and settle down the defense and the pitching. And it might be somebody who gave up some runs on Sunday, but they'll learn from that. And it doesn't have, a ton of lasting impact because it is still so early and we just kicked off Pac-12 play. And I still feel really good about this team, as I'm sure most do. But I think you still have to feel even better about a series win on the road. Like, just leave it at that and ignore the painful blown lead, and instead just look at production and W's and hope that the pitching will learn from this experience. I mean, yeah, we just need more consistency and dominance from the pitching staff.
Yeah, well, and I think it's important to point out too, like this game was the first time that Oregon State allowed double-digit runs. And I know, like, double-digit runs, it seems like an exorbitant amount. But college baseball is different. Like,
it's baseball.
That happens. Yeah. Not frequently, but like it's not rare that a team scores double digits. So pitching is not a quote unquote problem with this team. It's looked suspect at times, but every team has pitching that looks suspect at times. This was by far the worst couple innings for Oregon State pitching. Clearly, it was on the road. Utah is, in my opinion, so like Oregon State, clear number one team in the Pac-12. I think Utah is like Utah, Cal, and Oregon are really like 2A, B, and C. And we made Utah look pretty silly in the first two games. So I'm not worried about this at all. And I think if, like, for those people that are worried, you shouldn't be, because we're telling you shouldn't be. But more importantly, the voters are saying, like, you shouldn't be. This team went up in the rankings. We're number 2 in the country, and rightfully so. Like, we have made schools look silly this year, and most of the games haven't been competitions at all. Trent Caraway being out, I'm not terribly worried about it. Our offense has been just fine, and they'll be just fine without him. Next man up. And yeah, you hope that this next series against, is it Washington that we play next?
Yeah, we have a single midweek game against Portland. on Tuesday, and then we've got a 3-game set at home Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Huskies.
Yeah. So, and here's the other thing too that I wanted to mention. I watched part of the game on Friday, part of the game on Saturday. I didn't have a chance to watch the game on Sunday, but as I understand it, the team had a 9-0 lead. The pitcher started giving shit up, and they couldn't get the bullpen ready quick enough. And I think you had a couple pitchers go in, had some struggles, and you just didn't have the next guy warmed up. So is that a mishap on these pitchers? Yes, but I also think it's a coaching lesson to be learned as well, that no lead is fully safe, and you have to have a plan for if shit goes awry.
Especially when you're playing at elevation and the ball just flies. I'm not an expert on the hitters parks and pitchers parks of college baseball. I never pretend to be. I rely on you two for getting me up to speed. They're all hitters parks. College baseball. They're all hitters parks. But there's not an MLB team in Utah. There's a minor league team. They play at the same stadium as the Utes do, the Salt Lake Bees. But I imagine the elevation is similar to Coors Field, also in the Rockies. And it's a place where you can get shelled and put up what they call a crooked number in the baseball business. Crooked numbers, when things just go crazy. I'm not worried about giving up 14 runs on Sunday. If that becomes a trend, we'll sit here and be like, oh shit, we should probably stop giving up 14 runs if we want to play deep into June. But like you said, Benny, that's the first double-digit game, or the double-digit runs allowed, which that's a low bar to cross often, but like it does happen. It's the second loss in 19 games, which is pretty good. And we should be getting some reinforcements back among the pitching staff, and I get if we make it to Omaha, we'll likely not be fully healthy, have a fully healthy staff in Omaha either, because that's just what happens over the course of the season. But when you get your ace back, you get your closer back, then it kind of slots everyone else into their primary comfort zone.
Yeah.
And we've barely gotten any run of time of seeing everyone operating within kind of like what they're penciled into before the season started.
Right. Well, and the last thing, and I think we've sort of danced around it a little bit, is that again, like Utah is contending for that number 2. They're good. They're contending for that number 2 spot in the Pac-12. And you went into Salt Lake, you won the first 2 games, the second game very handily. And that third game, like, let's be honest, this was Oregon State losing the game and not Utah winning the game. Like, Utah is not a team that just scores 14 runs in 3 or 4 innings or whatever it was. Oregon State dropped the ball. They were up 9-0 in this game. They should have swept them. And that's not to say, like, looking through orange tinted glasses, like they should have swept this team. And this is a good team in your conference that you are playing on the road. So take that for what it is. Like, the team's good, and they've shown us this, and they will drop games from time to time, but this team's really good. Like, if they don't make it to Omaha, it's a massive failure. And I think it's okay to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This team 100%. Is that good. Yeah. Yep.
So Portland on Tuesday in a game that you can't go to unless you already have tickets.
$73 for like the final GA seats.
Oof,
right now.
Oof.
Send that information to one of those, but nobody cares about college baseball guys.
I would rather
Portland's
not.
Good too.
They beat Oregon.
This game won't
by a lot.
Yes, and say that didn't say
Did they beat
lot.
Oregon twice?
They beat Oregon 15-5 last time they played last week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope. Good job, pilots. I hope you got that out of your system for this game.
Yeah.
And if you have an extra ticket,
please,
if someone's selling a ticket, that's
hit the DMs.
The Trill at the _ Che, because he's too Trill to be real, and he really wants to go to this game with you.
I truly do.
And he'll buy you a hot dog for sure.
Yeah.
Do they?
I'll buy you 2 hot dogs, 1 for each hand. And I'll buy you 3, 1 for your mouth and 1 for each hand.
Yeah. You just wedge one in your mouth, and then just chomp away at it, if you will.
Chop 'em, dog.
Here we go. Do they sell beer at Joe Etzel Field?
I think so. I mean, they do at Merlot Field.
Do they sell Merlot at Merlot Field?
They probably did.
Maybe they did, actually.
Yeah.
We didn't ask. They did when we were at that men's soccer NCAA tournament game. They ran out of beer, which is on brand for a soccer game in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
That was on everyone's bingo card.
Can I throw out a crazy stat to you guys? I just saw this in Oregon State's write-up preview of the game. Yes. Micah McDowell is hitting 460 and is ranked 13th nationally in batting average. And Travis Bazzana is hitting 461. They don't say what he is. I'm assuming 12th. But Oregon State having 2 players in the top 15 in batting average is kind of crazy.
Who are both hitting better than 460.
Let's give Micah his flowers, man, because I think he's
Micah's so goddamn good.
Yeah. I think he's
I know Bazzana's gonna be the top, like the high draft pick, but goddamn, Micah's a good baseball player.
Yeah, he's unsung stud of this team, no doubt. So let's give him the appropriate shine.
For sure. Yeah. So I feel like softball plays like 15 games a week. I know they don't because they're currently 14 and 16, and it's been more than a 2-week season. But since the last time we talked, they've won a series against Arizona State.
Yeah,
which is fantastic. Good job. The way to take care of those Devils, but also lost 2 games to Portland State, and also lost a game to Grand Canyon on the bookend of that. After they opened up the series, the conference season in Corvallis against Arizona, they've played Portland State in Hillsboro, Arizona State in Tempe, and Grand Canyon in Phoenix. Now they go up to Seattle to play 1 game against Seattle U and 3 games against the Huskies before finally getting back to Corvallis to play a 3-game series against the Bruins. So that's just after you get into conference play, getting ready to get, because all these tournaments are just kind of crazy where you're playing double headers, you're playing on neutral sites, where long way from home.
Well, even the PSU games were a double header.
The PSU game was that was a Tuesday doubleheader, both 1-0 losses. So just needed those bats, but you played
and one games. Went to 11 innings. The second one,
dude, and playing in Hillsboro, that stadium's just so far.
That's 10 consecutive games not in Corvallis.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I know that's kind of how the season starts, where you play these 5-game tournaments in Florida, 5-game tournaments in Florida. Yeah, you play 5 consecutive doubleheaders in different municipalities, not where you actually play, or not where your home diamond is. So I think after that, it kind of settles into conference play. The Seattle game is the last non-conference matchup, and then I think it's 5 or 6 straight series. I don't know if that will settle things down or whatever, and I know it's college athletics. Schedules are crazy. Schedules are going to get crazier across the board as regional alliances are no longer a thing at all, and let's just go fucking nuts. Rutgers is a conference game now for some of you. Yay. But I do think this is a tough stretch. Great to see some great softball being played in it. I'm saying Arizona State is always good, and I'm basing that entirely on Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Wehage's Mason-Dixon line theory of outdoor spring sports.
Yeah.
But just winning on the road in the Pac-12 is always a good thing. That's a series win on the road, series conference win on the road. And Grand Canyon, I know, is a school that's been popping in a lot of sports. They are a trendy pick in the men's March Madness tournament, by the way. I forget who they're playing, but someone good.
I picked them to win. They're a 12 seed.
Did you? The 12-5 is, always kind of the fun one to pick. They are playing 13-4. They're playing St. Mary's, our new rival,
our future rival.
Grand Canyon, St. Mary's.
You're going to hell.
A bunch of people. That was one of those things too, where it's like the selection show is had been over for 4 minutes, and people on Twitter I already have Grand Canyon in my Sweet 16. God, I love this. Even I wish Oregon State was involved in it more, but I love the men's basketball NCAA tournament. Thursday can't come soon enough. I love it. Games being on during traditional business hours is my favorite because I love it when the world slacks off simultaneously.
Yes.
It's just great.
Didn't Grand Canyon University used to be like DeVry or like Southern New Hampshire University?
It was something like that.
It was like
it's always been
online.
It's always been very well funded and like pretty Christian. So like a more kind of like private school version of that. And I know there's been a lot of investment in their athletic department.
Yeah, like their athletic department came out of nowhere.
And they've won in the NCAA tournament before. Like this isn't a first, or they at least came close. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
This is a Grand Canyon podcast now.
No, this is the end of the episode.
But Seattle Beavs, there are 4 Oregon State softball games in Seattle this week. You better be at every goddamn one of them. I'm talking to you, Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Weehage.
You're looking right at me when you said that.
That is how Zoom cameras work. I'm looking at both of you and looking at neither of you. But yeah, end of the episode. Anything else you guys got to get off your chests before we get out of here? Nah. This is the quietest JP has ever been. He's over this.
I'm tired.
Nice. Well, happy March Madness. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy baseball team being number 2. We didn't even mention the number 1 team being Arkansas, which people always love to talk about. A team we lost to 5-4 when they had the greatest pitching performance in college baseball history.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
we really beat them 4-1 because that was a score without the pitcher in the game.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this game against Utah didn't count, so we're really undefeated.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, if you weren't watching, it didn't count.
I wonder why they don't put us in charge of more things. I just don't get it at all. Anyway, well, this has been another great episode of the Belligerent Beavs podcast. We did it, you guys. We did it. Another great episode. The reviews are already the 5-star reviews are already coming in. 133 5-star reviews of the podcast just came in.
Wait, not even counting the emergency episode you guys did without me. So 134.
We've done 134 episodes.
Oh, is that when you were deep in the woods?
Mm-hmm. That was when JP was deep in the woods and USC and UCLA decided to end our lives.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We did what we could, Benny. We did a good job. That was a good episode, despite the news being terrible and us not having our fearless leader.
Yeah.
Editing needed to work, but
I think the fill-in editor did a noble and decent job given the circumstances.
Yeah, I'll hand them that.
And sometimes they say the trailer's an episode too, so it'd be 135.
Oh yeah,
the trailer was an episode.
The trailer. I've listened to. Should we change the trailer?
I don't think the trailer gets like played. I think like Spotify picks highlights of our most recent episode.
I think the trailer still gets some play. But we can't change it. I don't even know if you two agreed to be on the show yet. I was just excited, so I'm like. That you had because JP came up with Belligerent Beavs.
Yeah, but go ahead and make the trailer.
JP came up with the name. But yeah, so we have 135 published pieces of audio content. But this is episode 133.
Yeah. Oh. Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted. If anyone cares. The number's in the episode because it helps us stay organized.
Yeah. It doesn't help the listener. Maybe a little bit. No, there's all the things tells you like what
it lets you know to go back to episode 1 as it is a narrative podcast. I used to say this once an episode, and I'm going to start saying it once an episode again. Go back to chapter 1. What are you doing here? You won't understand realignment unless you listen to, I think it was 55 episodes before that that were leading up to it.
The before and after. Realignment.
We know how all of this ends. Ooh, I think it was episode 55, then emergency episode with just you and I, Benny, because JP was off the grid.
Yeah,
and then it was.
Oh no!
So we just did emergency episode. It went. I think it went episode 55, emergency episode, then episode 56. I did not give the emergency episode a numerical designation,
as you shouldn't have. It didn't deserve one.
I stand by the executive decision making I made that week in JP's absences.
Yes.
So, anyways, And I stand by my decision to end the episode.
I said right now.
Thank you for being here, listener. And thank you for listening to a near perfect 133rd episode of the Belligerent Beefs podcast. We're joking around and having fun, but seriously, please, please, please take a moment, if you can, to give us a 5-star review, like and subscribe, all that fun stuff, wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps the show grow and us find new listeners in the Beaver fam and reach new ears and eyes and hearts who want to see Oregon State sports do well. And that's all we're trying to do here, is just put all of this great orange and black enthusiasm in one place and drink some Guinnesses while we do it. So please take a moment to send in those reviews right now, and also share the show with a friend. Send a direct link to this episode to one of your best friends right now. What are you waiting for? No one's doing any work this week. This is the week where you spend 3 days filling out your bracket and then spend the final 2 days just watching basketball, either at your desk, at the bar that's attached to your office building, or on your computer, and you just keep, clicking in and out
X's.
Clicking in and out of your Gmail message so that green light always stays on. So it's like, yeah, Bill's working. Look at that. The light's been green all day. Meanwhile, Bill's going 8 for 8 on his bracket so far on Thursday. Good shit, Bill. That's why you're our favorite listener.
I can't wait till I see schools having red lines crossed out of them really far down into my bracket starting on Thursday.
God, hell yeah. So have a great and safe first week of March Madness, watching the men's and women's tournaments. We will send out the link to the bracket challenge. We'll probably... should we do one for men's and women's, or are we just doing women's one because Oregon State's? Okay, we'll do one for a men's and women's bracket. Yeah. That's open to the public, and the top 3 in each will receive some kind of Oregon State swag. We'll make it worth your while for sure. So from all of us at the Belligerent Beefs, thank you for joining us wherever in the world you are and however you happen to be listening to us. My name is Terry Horstman, at Terry Horstman on Twitter, and at Terrence Horstman on Instagram.com, wondering where just in the hell Kate Middleton is. But really wishing you a happy St. Patrick's Day. Joined as I always am by my 2 best friends from college, Benjamin Lawrence Sebastian Weehage. He's a.k.a. Benny with the good quaff, a.k.a. Benny Bedlam, because he's fucking crazy, folks, a.k.a. Benny Bowl Game, a.k.a. Benny Burner, a.k.a. Benny Blast Off. Just like the Beavs, we blasting off some home runs in Portland on Tuesday night that JP likely won't get to see because tickets are gone. Unless someone comes in and saves them. Get JP to the game. You can follow Benny on all social media at BennyL1986. And the man, the myth, the legend who has edited every single episode of the Belligerent Beefs podcast, with the exception of the emergency episode, is JP Bertram. You can follow him on Twitter at the Trial J. That's at the_Trial_J, because he's too trial to be real. And on Instagram at JP Bertram. And you can follow us, gosh darn it, on Twitter at Bellig Beeves, at Belligerent Beeves everywhere else. That means Instagram. That means YouTube. That means TikTok applesauce, Facebook, Blue Sky, Napster. We're bringing Napster back. DC++. None of us are single, but the show is. So the show is on Raya. You can match with us on Raya.
What is Raya?
If you're looking for love.
What is Raya? And how do you know what Raya is?
Because I was on dating apps for a long time. Raya is like the exclusive dating app for influencers. That's why Belligerent Beef is on that one and not the other ones, because of all the influencer contracts we've signed over the years. Shout out Sinheaded. Shout out Homefield. Shout out Future Anchor. Partners. Shout out Anchor. Shout
out Fred Meyer that I always get there.
Shout out Fred Meyer. Yeah. Shout out Fair State. Shout out Future Partners, who we will influence for soon, but we haven't influenced for yet. The most exciting ones to come. Yep. And shout out to you, listener. Thank you for sticking with us throughout our bullshit. Thank you for listening to the episode in full. We always appreciate that. Thank you for everything you do, for bringing the energy, bringing the fun, bringing the spirit to Oregon State athletics. You are who we do this for. And while you're filling out your bracket, while you're having all kinds of fun following the tournaments, hopefully gathering with some friends, having a few Guinnesses, remember, no matter how many games we lose in the WCC next year, no matter how many home runs we give up at elevation, we are still the number 2 baseball team in the planet. There is still hope. There is still a chance. And if you don't believe me, just check the rallying cry and look at that spelling, which you cannot spell chop 'em without hope. It's literally physically impossible. So chop 'em.
Chop 'em.
Chop 'em.
Beeves back, baby.
Friday night. Phil Gill. Let's go.